Welcome, everyone. This is the first time that I'm going live. There may be a couple of technical glitches because I'm trying to get used to this YouTube thing with going live. So, bear with me. Pardon me for any mishaps on my part. I have a lot of things going on right here, so I'm gonna try to make sure that I run through this as smoothly as I can. Um, I'm going to be giving you guys a lecture on the gut microbiome. Gut microbiome. I know it seems like it's a boring subject, but I feel like most of the things that are worth learning come packaged as if they are boring. But in actuality, once you get the information, you're going to be glad that you stuck around for it, and you're going to be glad that you remained here. Okay, the lecture is not going to be long. But I think that this is vital that we as people start to take seriously what we put inside of our mouths, more seriously than the amount of money we make, more seriously than the amount of how much money we have in our bank accounts, or how much you're trying to save for your 401k. All that stuff doesn't matter. If your health is deteriorating, money doesn't really matter at that point. Your health is your wealth. Okay, so I'm going to start with this lecture. I'm going to begin now. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And yeah. Alrighty. Let me do this. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh. All right. So this is going to be a lecture on the gut microbiome. I want you guys to stay with me here, all right? And you guys see my and this is not going to be perfect at all. I'm at this point now because I'm such a perfectionist. I kind of want to just like end this and start over again because I think that I didn't even have a smooth entry, but we're all human here. So I'm going to be very transparent here and just be a human. All right. Humanize myself a little bit because I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination here. I'm just trying to get this thing done as best as I can. All right. So the gut microbiome, this is what we're going to be talking about. Okay. All right. So on the agenda, we're going to be talking about what is microbiome. I'm going to give you guys the definition of what microbiome is. We're going to talk about the gut microbiome and the different types. There are two types of gut microbiome. We're going to talk about the role of the gut microbiome, plants and human connection, because there's a connection between plants and humans. And I'm going to talk about the function of microbiome in the gut. And we're going to talk about the Hippocratic Oath and how it's riddled with hypocrisy because doctors have to swear by that oath. But you're going to see how their practices is actually counterintuitive and antithetical in theory to what the Hippocratic Oath is actually about. And the Hippocratic Oath was stated by Hippocrates, if you did not know that. Okay. All right. Moving along. All right. So, what is a microbiome? All right. Microbiome is a collection of all microbes, such as bacteria, fungi, viruses, and their genes that naturally live in our bodies and inside us. So, you can't see these things. They're microorganisms. That's why they call them microbes. You can't see them with the naked eye. And they live in us, they live all around us. They naturally live on our bodies and inside of us. They're all around us. A healthy gut microbiome means that when you have a healthy gut microbiome, it means that you have a diverse group of microorganisms. What does that mean? Micro, again, means something that's small that can't be seen with the naked eye. And the term organism means that's something that's alive, something that has a cell, something that has a nucleus, right? And if something is alive, it means that that thing has purpose. Everything that's alive has a purpose. Even the most disgusting things that are alive, like parasites, they have a purpose. Even things as disgusting as bacteria, They have a purpose because we understand with bacteria that you have good and you have bad bacteria. So when you hear the term microorganisms, this just means that things that are so small that you cannot see them with the naked eye, they're small, but they are alive. They are alive. They're organisms. All right. So these are microorganisms that interact to break down foods and produce essential gases and energy fuels. Okay. And this is all according to the National Institute of Environmental Health. That's where I got that information from. Okay, moving along. So there are two types of microbiome, right? You have two types. You have the autochthonous and you have alloctonous. Autochthonous and alloctonous. Autochthonous biome is the one that comes from the gut and is already present. It's already in you. Autochthonous is you have microbiome that's indigenous to the planet, right? It's not something that's artificially made, and it's not something that's inorganic. It's more of an organic constituent that it comes naturally from the earth or naturally from the body. Remember, the body and the earth are connected. Earth, 70% water. Human beings have 70% water. Then you have alloctonous biome, all right? That comes from outside sources. So if you're talking about microbiome that you already have, that's good. But the microbiome that you have already inside you is filled with microorganisms. And what did I say before? A microorganism is a what? It's a small organism that you can't see with the naked eye, but an organism is alive, but that organism needs to feed on something, right? So a lactinous biome is a biome that you get from outside sources. And the outside source microbiome that you get, you have to get that through plants. Why is it important that you get that microbiome through plants? Is because plants are energized by microbiome of the soil. See, everything's connected. You have the sedimentary layers of the planet is the skin of the planet. Our epidermis is the skin that's on us. So the sedimentary layers of the planet is the soil. That's what you consider the soil. And then when the soil is rich and filled with microbes, where those microbes come from, they're energized from the sun due to the hydrologic cycle that the planet is supposed to go under when it's not being tampered with weather modification systems. But however, suffice it to say that those organisms from the microbes are enhanced by photosynthesis. So if you're eating plants and vegetables and things that are grown from the soil, it's being germinated by something called photosynthesis from the photons that are emitted from the sun. And if you eat those things that are filled with microbes, nutritionally dense foods, you're feeding your lactinous biome, which is the outside biome that comes from the outside, comes from an outside source because it's not something that's naturally in you. You're then thus feeding your microorganisms. And those microorganisms that you're feeding, you're fueling those microorganisms to actually do their job correctly, which is to help you digest food properly, excrete toxins, okay? And it keeps your body flowing the way it's supposed to flow. You're not backed up, all right? It decreases inflammation. There's a lot of benefits to that. Okay, so remember again, I'm going to go back to that. The two types of microbiomes are autochthonous and alloctonous. All right, autochthonous is natural. Natural microbiome is already in you. The earth already has natural microbiome. All right, you have natural microbiome that's in you. Then you have alloctonous biome. That's the one that comes from the outside sources, and you get that through your diet. Okay. All right. So let's talk about digestion. All right. So when you're talking about microbiome, it's going to help with digestion, as I said earlier. It stimulates an enzymatic response to help break down lactose. And all lactose is just sugar. All right. Lactose is just a fancy word for sugar and gluten proteins found in wheat and other food sources. It breaks down prebiotics, which helps to support a healthy gut. All right. And look here, making sure. Okay. Yeah. So it pretty much helps with digestion. When you're not eating foods that can be digested, it tampers with your gut wall. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. All right. It tampers with your gut wall and it doesn't really help your body flow the way it's supposed to flow. All right. So the human and plant connection. All right. There's a human and plant connection. that a lot of you guys don't have to understand why it is very important that we stick to a plant-based diet and eat foods that are grown from the plant as much as possible. At least 90% of your food source should be things that are grown from the earth, fruits and vegetables, and ideally raw fruits and vegetables. Um, Try cooking. Cooking should be at a minimum. You don't want to add too much heat to those things because a lot of the times the heat changes the composition of the food, drains it of its nutrients, and compromises the nutrients in the foods that you were eating, thinking that they were nutritionally dense are no longer nutritionally dense because the heat has changed the chemical composition of the minerals that are in that food. Thus, you're not getting the vital minerals that you need. So the human and plant connection, all right, both, did you know that both need water and nutrients to survive? So both human beings, all right, and plants both need water. Okay. So that's why I tell people all the time when you're drinking a Coke, when you're drinking a Sprite, drinking a Dr. Pepper, or any of these sodas, drinking a monster drink, I always tell people, how about you just, start, building a garden, plant some, plant some plants, plant some seeds. All right. And I want you, instead of watering your plants, use Coke as the water substitute and come back and tell me how those plants are doing. They're going to die. So if you wouldn't put Coke or soda or monster drinks or any of these toxic filled liquids, if you would not put those things as a mineral on your plant to when you're supposed to water it, but because you're using another form of liquid, you're using liquid that's not H2O. If you're going to use Coke, and I'm using Coke for an example, but Coke is just a symbol for any drink that's not water, right? So let's say you're going to use that to water the plant. That plant's not going to survive. So why would you then instead ingest Coke? If it's not good for the plant, it's not good for you. If it's good for the plant, it's good for you. Let me ask you guys a question. Is water good for you? Yes. I'm glad you answered yes. Water is good for you. Water is good for plants. Water is good for you. If it's good for the plant, it's good for you. Again, both benefit from sunlight. Both plants and humans, especially melanated people, we both benefit from the sunlight. We both benefit from photosynthesis. It stimulates our pineal gland. It helps increase our serotonin levels. It helps balance us out by balancing our circadian rhythm, increases our circadian rhythm, increases the melatonin, which is a hormone that helps you sleep. So ask yourself a question. Is the sun bad? Yes or no? No, it's not bad. You know why we know it's not bad? Because it's not bad for plants. So sunlight is good. Both plants and humans, we both benefit from organic life forms. All right. What do I mean by organic life forms? That's why when you buy a consumable product, something that you're going to eat, it's always good to get something that's grown naturally and organically without extra added chemicals. We both benefit from organic life forms, organic microbes, all right, that are used to energize the soil, to help energize the seed, to germinate the seed, and to help the seed bring forth life. All right. The closer a thing is to its natural state, the better. So we both, plants and humans, we both benefit from organic life forms. Next, plants have chlorophyll. All right. While plants have chlorophyll, but we don't have chlorophyll like plants, but we have something else. All right. We have something else called magnesium. Magnesium. All right. The chlorophyll is what makes plants green. The magnesium is what makes our skin the way it is. It helps our skin. It's similar. Okay. And both use nitric oxide, hemoglobin, and melatonin interact metabolically. All right. And earlier I talked about prebiotics. I wanted to let you guys know that prebiotics are indigestible natural fibers which are fermented by our good gut bacteria to help them thrive. So prebiotics are indigestible. You can't digest a prebiotic, but if you have good gut microbiome and the fibers that are needed by eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, It can help. It could ferment it. It could ferment it, meaning that it can make it more digestible by our good gut bacteria to help them thrive. Okay, so I forgot to mention that on the on my previous slide when I talked about prebiotics. All right, so both humans and plants, we both use nitric oxide. All right, we both use nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is what's known as a vasodilator. Nitric oxide signals the blood vessels to relax, to allow them to expand. So a lot of people who have, um, high blood pressure, it's because a lot of them aren't eating fruits and vegetables. If you're eating the right foods, and which are riddled with nitric oxide, like foods like beets, they're good. They're good for the heart. They're high in with nitric oxide, and can help loosen up those blood vessels. And hemoglobin is a protein in red blood cells that carry oxygen. And who doesn't need oxygen? Oxygen is the center source of everything in our body. Our cells need it. Everything in our body, from a molecular standpoint, needs it. Okay, so that's the human and plant connection. So if something is good for plants, it's good for you. So cut out the soft drinks, cut out the sodas, cut out the sugar drinks. Just drink water. Keep it simple. I know it's hard to do that in this culture because everywhere you go, we're inundated with all this garbage, and it's hard to resist it. But it's really that simple. You have to make a choice. You can either choose life or you can choose death. All right. Both plant and humans have an intricate sensory and regulatory system. All right. Both have a intricate Both plants have a human. Both plants and humans have an intricate sensory and regulatory system. Both plants and humans share the same cellular features. Okay. I don't now. I'm not diving too deep into the different cellular features, but we are very similar. We both we both have intricate sensory systems. Our nerves. Do you know that plants are emotional? It was a study that was conducted many years ago. There were two plants that were grown in the same house, and the botanist, he wanted to show that plants have a because they're organisms, they're alive. Remember, things that are alive have purpose, whether you believe it or not. They do. Just because they're not talking and walking and act like you doesn't mean that they're not alive. And that's the most jaded, most ignorant way to think, is that when something is just not like a human, that it's not alive. Plants are alive. The test that he did, it was that he put one plant. Both plants were in the same room. Both plants got the same amount of water and same amount of sunlight. But the difference is, with the one plant, he played nice music in front of it and spoke positive things to that plant. Do you know, over several weeks, the plant that got the extra attention in regards to the singing to the plant, um, telling the plant nice things, playing nice music in front of the plant, that plant grew bigger and taller and was much stronger. Not that the other plant didn't grow well, the other plant grew well, but when you compared the two, the plant that got most of the attention grew better. So that lets you know that the sensory, the sensory capacity of a plant, similar to a human, are very similar, just like a child growing up. If you keep telling the child positive things, you're smart, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you can do all things, you can achieve all things, you this, you're that, they're going to start to believe that, and they're going to begin to act the way that you're telling them they are. Whatever label that you're putting upon them, they're going to actually take that and actually start to behave that way. Plants are the same way. Why wouldn't you want to eat things like that? We're one. Plant-based diet is not some fad, folks. Oh, plant-based diet, I'm more healthy. No, it's just the way to eat. It's just the way to eat. All right. Humans and plant, the human and plant composition, soil and the human gut have a direct relationship. And I've explained that before. I have a direct relationship. The soil and the human gut. The soil, all right, is where the seed goes into, right, to grow the plant. Well, the gut is also a soil in a sense, metaphorically speaking. When you eat good foods, you're planting seeds into your gut microbiome, which then feeds the microorganisms, giving them the energy and the fuel to do what your stomach needs to do. to excrete the toxins out of your body, to cleanse your vessels, your blood vessels, to insert more hemoglobin and more oxygen into your whole digestive system and into your cardiovascular system and all the systems that are in your body. And it starts to show externally on your epidermis, on your skin. Your skin starts to get smoother because you're actually aligning yourself with nature. Nature and man are one. When you do well by nature, nature will do well by you. But when you start to interfere with the chemical compositions of food and you start to add chemicals to it with all this processed junk that's out there, then your body's going to do you harm. You're putting your body in a state of dis-ease. Hence, we get the term disease from. All right? A body is not at ease. As soil microbiome's diversity decreases, so does the diversity of the human gut microbiome. All right. So the soil microbiome, with all the pollution that's going on the planet today, all right, the microbiome of the soil is not as pristine as it should be. Okay. So we're not even eating the best fruits as possible. Even if you do buy organic, I'm not saying buying organic fruits and vegetables is bad. It's the best that we have. But even the best that we have has been compromised to a certain degree because all of the pollution that we are bombarded with, all of the pollution that we are surrounded by. So when soil microbiome diversity decreases, so does your gut microbiome because you become what you eat. Remember, your gut microbiome is connected to the soil because the soil microbiome, understand this, when you eat nutritionally dense foods that come from the planet, that come from good soil, if you eat that and you ingest that and you consume that as your body's digesting it, your microorganisms in your gut microbiome will embrace that, will take that in. So the diversity of your gut microbiome is linked to the diversity of the soil microbiome that in which that plant came from. So whatever's going on in the earth is going to be reflected inside your body, whatever you eat. So you are what you eat. When people talk about having these chickens and having foods and having these cows and pigs on in farms, and they say, "Oh, these animals are on the farm." I always say, "No, we are the farm. We are the animals in the farm." You say, "How is that?" Because we are what we eat. When you're eating eggs and you're the chickens that have been in cages, stressed out, eating a bunch of meat that are filled with all sorts of, antibiotics and all sorts of who knows what they inject in those things. When you eat those things, you become those things. So you are the farm. You are the product. Yeah, on the surface, those animals, yeah, they're on the farm. But if you're eating those animals, you are part of the farm as well. You're connected. You cannot separate what you eat from who you are because you are what you eat. You are what you eat. All right. A reduction in topsoil diversity. Only 5 to 7% of the land on Earth is topsoil. So there's not a lot of topsoil on the Earth. Most of the Earth is composed of water. All right. There's a reduction in microorganisms, autochthonous. Autochthonous are the organisms that come from the outside. So there's a reduction in that. Why? Because of all the pollution that we're going through, all of the chemicals that they are using to mass produce on these farms. Because farming is a slow process, but because we live in a free market society and we're so used to just profits and the greed factor, we don't have you know we don't have the patience to let things just flourish the way they're supposed to. All right. Reduction in topsoil diversity leads to undernourished soil for vegetation. If you have undernourished soil, you're also going to have undernourished gut microbiome. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to have diseases because your microbiome in your gut is undernourished, but you still stick to what's best. So it's like taking the lesser of two evils. We know that we don't live in a perfect world. We know that the air pollution is far from the air quality rather is far from pristine. It's very, very bad. So with that being said, we can't just neglect trying to eat right. We still have to stick to what we know is best and live off that. You can't just say, well, we're gonna die anyway, I'm gonna just continue to eat junk. That's not the way to think. And that's the way a lot of our melanated people think. It's very disgusting when they carry that type of mindset that we're gonna die anyway. So you're gonna eat your way to death. That's lovely. And then it leads to less diverse human gut biome. Like I said before, the more diverse the soil is, the more diverse your gut biome is. The less diverse, um, the topsoil is, the less diverse your gut biome is. Okay, so this is just a quick illustration of how um, the microbiome gut wall works. All right, so if you can look at this figure here. All right, the variety of microorganisms in your gut microbiome requires a variety of plant fibers to thrive. Plant fibers to thrive. Right. So even when you eat an apple, eat the skin. If you eat a cucumber, eat the skin. That's the fiber part of it. Right. So those are the things that are going to infuse fiber into your system. Um, Lack of plant fibers results in the microorganisms eaten at your gut wall. And so your microorganisms have to eat. So if you're not eating proper foods, your microorganism starts to eat itself. It starts to eat you. It starts to feed on you. Hence, over time, you start to get the diseases because your microorganisms are eating at the gut wall. Look at the illustration. You have the microbiome, which lays at the top. It's at the top layer. Okay, you see that right there. Then you have the gut wall. All right, you have the gut wall right there. Then you have the immune system. If you have a good microbiome, which is these little lines here, the microorganisms will feed up here, because when you're feeding the microorganisms with the good microbiome that you're getting in, a toxinous microbiome, the ones that come from outside sources, the one that comes from plants and vegetables, fruits, and all that good stuff, then you're good. Your gut wall is fine. But then if you don't have enough fruits and vegetables in your system, then hey, I'm going to start eating at the gut wall. And then when the gut wall starts to erode, your immune system gets weaker, because now you have more toxins that can actually penetrate the gut wall and start to impact your immune system. Then you start to have a symptomatic response to foods that you eat. So that's why we say all the time that nutritional deficiencies is one cause of sicknesses. It's not viruses. There are like 7 reasons why people get sick. You have nutritional deficiencies, which is one. You have stress, neurological stressors. You have poisons. You have bacteria toxins. You have radiation, be it ionized radiation or non-ionized radiation. You have biological weapons, and you have I forgot what the seventh one was, but those are the reasons why people get sick. It's not some viruses lingering in the air. Most of the times it's because it's lack of sleep. We're stressed out. Our bodies are not in balance, and most of it is nutritional deficiencies. Okay, because if your gut is being eaten by microorganisms because they have to feed. Remember, I told you in the beginning that a microorganism is a small organism that you cannot see with the naked eye, but it needs to feed on something. All right, that's where those fibers, that's where those nutritionally dense foods come into play that are rich with microbiome, and the microorganisms can actually feed on the microbiome that you give it. It can start eating here, not eating at the gut wall. Okay, you don't want the gut wall to be eroded. See, number 2 says friendly bacteria in the microbiome protect the gut wall from damage. These are friendlies. They're friendly, but you need to feed the friendlies. If you don't feed the friendlies, they'll start eating you. They'll start eating you. The immune system's friendly bacteria also help to regulate and support the immune system. Okay, so moving on. All right, so foods that are rich in microbiome, like I said before, fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes. Look at the picture. Nuts, fruits, vegetables, berries, peppers, things that have color. Look at the rich color of all these foods that are here. Real foods, not the things that you guys eat. The things that you guys eat are junk food. This is what you guys eat. Here, poisons to eat. Poisons not to eat, actually. Poison foods to stay away from. Stay away from the donuts, the French fries, the candy bars, the sugars, the pizzas, the burgers, all of that stuff. All right. You owe it to yourself. It's not even about losing weight. Losing weight is just the result, the end result. That's the end game. It's about being healthy. Being being slimmer just comes as a natural effect of making the right choice. I don't want you guys to think of I need to be on a diet to lose weight. Just think health first. I want to be healthy. You owe it to yourself. You don't. I mean, don't. I mean, if you think that America is good cares about your health, you're an idiot, because they don't care about your health. The medical industry does not care about your health. They're talking about curing cancer, but then the foods that they actually give you are laced with carcinogens. All the meats are carcinogenic. You're eating cancer. Then they're talking about finding a cure for cancer. How about changing people's diets and actually going back to the natural form of medicine, which is called ethnomedicine, medicine that's predicated on using plants and herbs and natural foods to heal people. That's why you have to let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. All right. So you can either choose life or choose death and disease. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, like I just said. With regard to healing, and this is what the Hippocratic Oath says. This is the oath that doctors have to take, and you're going to see the hypocrisy in this oath. All right, it says with regard to healing. And first of all, even before I read the Hippocratic Oath, let's talk about the first bullet point for a second. He says, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." Today in modern medicine, are we practicing that slogan by Hippocrates? Are we practicing this right here? Are we? Are we practicing that? No, we're not. We're not letting food be our medicine and medicine be our food. Food is actually the toxin, the ailment, the cause, the causation of our diseases. And then we're going to doctors to get a pill prescribed to us just to mask symptoms, to never deal with the root causes. Come on, guys. Come on. So let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. That is not what we're practicing in the West. Then it says here, this is what the Hippocratic Oath actually says. It says, with regard to healing the sick, I will devise, meaning the doctors will devise, the medical industry will devise and order for them the best diet. Most medical most medical students who go to medical school, they are not taught nutrition. Nutrition is not part of their curriculum at all. They're learning about medicines and learning more about chemistry. They're not learning about medicine. They're not learning about foods and nutrition at all. But yet the Hippocratic Oath states this. And doctors take this Hippocratic Oath, but yet don't practice it. That's the hypocrisy. With regard to healing the sick, I will devise and order for them the best diet. We have the worst diet in the West, according to my judgment and means, and I will take care that they suffer no hurt or damage. Mm. When this little thing happened in 2019, you guys know exactly what that is. I had to be very careful with my words. I wonder the thing that they created in about 6 months when they were putting it inside people. I wonder what if that had anything to do with diet or foods, or was that yet another toxin that's being inserted inside of our bodies? You be the judge. You answer that. Critical thinkers. I hope you're using your critical brains here and you're thinking about that. I will take care that they suffer no hurt or damage. I have a coworker, all right? His brother has a 2-year-old son that suffered a stroke. Since when did 2-year-olds suffer stroke? Since when have we had 5-year-olds having heart attacks? That's normal now? I will take care that they suffer no hurt or damage, nor shall any man's entreaty prevail upon me to administer poison to anyone. That's exactly what the medical industry does. The allopathic form of medicine, the allopathic means of medicine, the way medicine is currently constructed in the West, is this. Is nothing. It's funny because the Hippocratic Oath that they take, it's a joke. They reversed it. They're doing everything contrary to what Hippocrates stated. They're not using food or diet. They are harming people. Okay. They're administering poisons to anyone. Neither will I counsel any man to do so. They counsel people to do so. They'll ban you for going to school if you don't have certain things put inside you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to have your certain thing to go to a certain place. People will get fired if they don't get certain things put inside their bodies. They're going against the Hippocratic Oath. This is not what Hippocrates meant. So I tell you today, choose life or choose death. Thank you guys for listening. Now I have to learn how to end this stream. Okay, there it goes. I have my thing that I can even see it. All right, thank you guys for listening to my lecture on the human gut, the human gut microbiome. And do you have the gut to live, or are you going to be a gutless coward preparing for your deathbed? Because that's your choice you're going to have to make sooner or later. You could either have the gut to live, all right, pun intended, having the right organisms in your microbiome to live, or you could be a gutless coward, lacking a gut wall, preparing for your death. All right, think about that. This is just something to consider. All right, thank you guys for watching. All right, bye.